to say, but who knows, as I go along and time wears on, I may end up back in that pattern again. So.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let me change. Yeah, there we go. Hey, Bob, I see Bob logged on. Okay, anyone else have, oh, and John, welcome, John. Anyone else have some show and tell they want to do?
I got a building in a bag.
Okay, show us.
Let's see if I can get a good view on this for you. This is a scratch build that I'm working on, just started it Thursday. So I've got a lot of windows to cut out on this one.
So it's a building in a bag, but it's a scratch building in a bag.
That's right.
Okay.
So.
Okay, well, I've got one thing. Let's see. My boss came to me and said, hey, I've got this project for you. So he's always wanted to build a puzzle factory on our property, a special building. And so he drew up these plans that look really cool. And he's a great artist, but he's not an architect. So here's what I've started so far. Let's back it up. So this is one half of the building. There'll be a center column and then the other half on this side. So I've taken advantage of the laser at work and been able to do some nice detail on the windows. This brickwork is laminated to laser cut pieces. And so this takes quite a bit of time to do this, but it's turning out cool. But I said, hey, he wanted it to be a certain size, and that size happened to be really close to HO scale. So I did it to HO scale because that's what I'm used to, and here's an HO person. And I said, hey, look, standing at ground level, that guy can't even see out the first floor window. So you got something wrong here. And that's supposed to be the second story, and that window, so something's off on his drawing. And so he said, well, you're right, I realize that, but keep building the building. I want to see it done anyway. So I'll show you maybe down the road. I'm going to work on the second half of this one today. But that's my little side project besides doing the Fremo thing. Okay, Blaine's got something. Let's switch to Blaine's screen. Cool. Hey, I recognize that.
You recognize this? This is the Gold Rush Bay.
Yeah.
And a completely detailed interior.
Cool. Did you buy that online?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I saw that same one. And why did you say unfortunately?
Well, I bought 3 or 4 others. He had it, they listed them for like 50, 60 bucks. And then he has make an offer. And so I made an offer for like 25 bucks and got it.
Wow. Okay.
So
I might be making an offer.
I found you can make an offer to this guy at half price and he'll take it.
Yeah. That's cool. Show us one more time. I know you put it back together. Oh, there we go.
So he 3D printed that?
This is 3D printing. Whoops. That's the front.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
The interior, full interior.
Well, so are you going to paint it?
Yeah, I'm going to paint it.
Yeah, see, that's the one thing that turned me off a little bit was I like to paint the things and then put them together. But it's already put together, so the painting will be more of a challenge. But that looks really cool from this view, at least.
Yeah, well, he's got a bunch of Victorian. You just type in Gold Rush Bay on eBay.
Yeah.
He really sells on eBay, and he's got a whole section of these things, and some of them are really cheap. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's cool that you did that and you had a good experience. I've been thinking of it, so Anyone else?
Blaine, what was the name of the guy again? Gold Rush?
Gold Rush Bay. I don't know if you can see the header on that.
Oh, okay.
Gold Rush Bay. So it's a San Francisco style. I
Yeah.
ended up with several of their kit or printing.
Yeah, that I saw there's some the Victorian looking ones that remind me of San Francisco. Okay, anyone else got a show and tell before we get started with the actual clinic? Okay, one thing I will make note of is in the newsletter we had mention of the Fremo is going to be in Evanston, the HO Fremo. If anyone's interested in that, the email was wrong. It was, I think we had Gmail. It's supposed to be Hotmail. But you can always email me directly if you're interested. You don't have to have your own Fremo if you're willing to do some work. So Dalen is planning on doing some Fremo. It might not be done by then, but he's still coming to help with the setup and pay his fee, then he can participate. So it is not a show as much as it is a meet. And we'll be running trains, and I might have a short train, but I'll definitely have a long train there. And so that'll be fun. Okay, and next month, it is the Saturday, we will be up there. So instead of having a clinic, we'll do a layout tour, and I'll have my phone up there and walk around and show you different parts of the setup. And we're looking for someone to do an August clinic. If anyone wants to do a clinic in August, let me know. If not, we'll have another presentation from Jim's train room. Okay, so Kevin's got 2 screens. Are you going to focus on one screen or switch back and forth? What do you think?
One is pretty much just set, so it'll give 2 views. If I get in the way of one, you can see out of the other.
Okay, great. Okay, well, we'll turn the time over to you now and let you get started.
Okay. Get my camera girl here. Okay, well, to start off, I need to let you know that I have no art training whatsoever, no art degree, nothing. So all this that I'm going to show you today is what I've actually picked up over time and actually have done. To start, you're going to need some basic equipment.
Before you interject, you did send me a list, like a materials list for the handout.
Yes, I did.
I forgot to like send that out to people, but it will be on the website under the past clinics section, so you can look at it there.
Okay. The basic materials you're going to need are paintbrushes. Get these at Walmart, just real cheap. You'll need a palette. I'm going to be using 3 different ones today. They come in different sizes, and they're actually pretty cheap as well. You're going to need some paints. I use the acrylic from Michaels. The paints that you want to be using will be basic earth colors, grays, whites, titanium white, unbleached titanium, yellows, browns, greens, and then we'll be mixing them actually on the palette to get the actual colors we're going to be needing. Rag, a cup of water, because this is all water-based that I'll be doing. You'll need to prepare your surface. I've got a piece of masonite here that I've already taken and painted up. This is about 14 inches by 2 feet. Next to me, I have an 18-inch by 4 feet that I did last month. That took me about 3 hours to do. This will take a lot less time. Preparing your background, you're going to need a flat paint, blue paint, doesn't matter what brand, cheap is great, but you get the one that you want. This I got at Home Depot. I found a similar color at Lowe's as well. So the middle one and the bottom one on these are the colors that I use. When I was doing my backdrop, the running joke was that I was turning into Bob Ross because I had everything going on. So without further ado, I guess we can get going. To start, we're going to take we want to put an outline of either mountain range or fields. And there's two great ways to do this. The first way, you can hand draw it. But one of the better ways that I found is I took some pictures and projected them onto the wall. And then we were able to trace the actual outline of the hills, the mountains, and we got really good drawing. And then after I get the hills done, that I can go into the clouds. So to start, I'm gonna just give a basic outline here. Now to do clouds, they're very, very easy. You're gonna need a piece of poster board is all I use. You go to Google, print off some pictures of different clouds, attach them, and then just cut them out. And you're gonna make yourself a template. I ended up making 2 templates, and I marked them top and bottom so I know which ones they are. Using just painter's tape, I'm going to take and put this in a spot where I'll be able to take and there's the bottom of the clouds, and then we'll do the top. And as you can see, the shapes just come right in nicely, and you can move them about. You can make them bigger, smaller, and so the template can be different shapes. Is all that you would need. So I'm going to do that like so. The brushes that I'll be using, just basic good brushes. You want a nice stiff brush for this first part. I'll be using 2 to 3 different colors to start on clouds. I use white, the titanium white. I use gray. You can see in the past I used a little bit of black on it as well, but I don't think I'll be using that today. And I'm going to need just a dash of yellow. This is Naples yellow that I'm using. Now, because the gray is too dark, I'm going to be taking and mixing the color. But we're going to start with white for the clouds. And we're going to use a method called stippling. Stippling is not brushing. Brushing has strokes. This is actually just tapping. So we're going to tap. This is why you need a good stiff brush. Get a nice basic outline of your cloud using the white, and they'll make it nice and fluffy. But clouds are not all white. They do have gray in them. So I'm going to take and mix, since this gray is way too dark, I'm going to mix the white and the gray together to make it a little bit lighter. Now, if you do a night scene, I actually was looking at clouds on the full moon, and you can do the same technique, but you'll be using grays instead of whites. The only white that you'll be using is actually on your moon with a very dark blue background. Now, using the same stippling technique, we put it along the bottom. Give it a little shadow. Go back to the white, and we want to kind of highlight. You can see with the mixing of the white and the gray on the surface, it actually comes out, and you can see it start to form. Now, the next cloud I'm going to do, since clouds are not all happy, yeah, I said it. We're going to start using the white. Then we go to our grays again. However, since I'm going to put a little bit more paint along the bottom of this, and I'm going to use the darker grays. And I'm going to show you why we're putting more paint than normal along the bottom edge of this. Let's see the darker gray on there. Now we remove the template. And you can see how your clouds just formed. But with see all this darker gray, I'm actually going to take my Bob Ross brush. I have a 2-inch brush that I'm going to be using. It's soft, pliable, and at an angle, I'm just going to draw the paint down. Just like that. And now we have a rainstorm.
I'm going to add lightning to this one.
Yeah, yes, I am. I'm going to take a smaller brush. And this is where the yellow comes in. And we have a streak of lightning. I'll just take and blend that in just a little bit. There we go. Now it's blended. And we have 2 clouds. Now I'm going to change directions a little bit. Now that we're got the clouds finished, we can come in and work on all this down here. We need to make sure that we have definite definitions of where our ridges are going to be. So like right here, I can put a hill and it'll show a ridge here, and then I can put something back here, and there's a ridge. And this here is going to be kind of a plane. And I'm going to switch to earth colors, because I have yet to find a paint called dirt. So we're going to make our dirt. Getting low on that one. So I've got some raw sienna, some burnt umber, got some yellow ochre. Wrong one. I grabbed the one that's not open. I did. This one's deep yellow ochre. Unbleached titanium. Get rid of that. And a little bit of burnt sienna might help. That's a pretty good start there. If I need more, I do have some raw umber to go with it. This is where our palette comes in nice and handy. I'm gonna get a different brush now. We're gonna start mixing different colors because we want to get a nice brownish green. So using this, a little bit of this. Lightens that up. Add some browns to it. And there. We got some brown showing. Test it out. It's still too light. You can add some more dark color to it. You can see how we're just going to start putting it in. Using our brush strokes, we'll actually show the difference. This is how we're actually going to show how the ridge works. And we'll use different colors as well on it. And the reason I always have a rag. Some red into it. There we go. He'll start, so I'm going to get a smaller brush. And I kind of, the way I do this is I start with the browns and then work my way to the greens. Just about the same way that I do my layout scenery. Just so that there's a ridge here. You see how that ridge just starts forming right in here. And one thing about using this method is that if you don't like how it kind of turns out, you can always start over like with another coat of blue. And so you can start to see where I drew my lines, using the different colors, how the ridges and the gullies start showing up. There we go. Okay. When it comes to backdrops, you want to show your depth, because the backdrops are actually what help set your setting, so that you can gives your location up for your layout.
You just destroyed your ridge.
Okay. I'm actually going to Using the darker colors to highlight. If this comes down more like that. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna get myself a clean brush. And we're gonna go into the greens. This is a deep green. Now, the problem I have with the deep green is that it don't look like trees or anything because it's just way too green. And to fix that, I'm gonna mix a little raw umber into it. I'm gonna need some yellows. This is mixing on the palette. Notice you get a little bit darker green out of it. Add some yellow. And by putting it on, now you got kind of a grassy plain. And you can see why we do the clouds first, because now we cover up this nice bottom edge, give it a nice edge on it.
At least it's not Kermit the Frog green.
What's wrong with Kermit the Frog green?
Unrealistic, imaginative fairy tale.
And then we kind of
I
blend.
just think that's a bad imitation of my green, but you know.
We just blend this green and the brown together a bit.
So where are you putting this one at?
I don't know. Now we have a kind of a plain going on. And I'm going to use what is called a fan brush next, using this darker green. Put some foliage in. Now, we're not going to take and tap it straight on or brush. We're going to be kind of perpendicular. Just tapping it this way. And now we've got trees. some tree patches are when you look on mountains, they look a little bit darker than others because there's a lot more trees than there are in others areas. Along the ridge line here, and as you can see, this actually does not take very long. It actually goes rather quickly once you get started into it. If anybody has questions, feel free to ask away. I'll try to answer them as we go along. And right down along here, same type of thing. Pine trees are a lot higher than lower areas, which get more brush down here. I'm just using the different greens that I've mixed up here. This has 3 different colors in it. To go in and a tad of this as we stipple and tap it in, gives you your foliage. Mix these 2 up here again. Back. Too dark. Needs more green. Too much paint on the brush. Need get a different fan brush here. Add some little lighter greens to it. Since we got a ridge right here. And there we've got pretty good. Gonna add a splash of color into here. You know, kind of like and pretty much when you're doing this, it just as when it looks good to your eye, you know you're done. You can do the same thing. You can add rocks to this. I'm gonna have to. Now I'm getting sloppy. That's just plain sloppy there. But you can fix that, make it a grassy patch. And then add the trees and brush to it. And as you can see, making another kind of a ridge into here and gives it that much more depth using the greens. I'm going to set this down. Because I'm going to go back to using some of my grays. Just blend that in. Now you got some rocks in there. And we can stop there or we can continue on. So we got all this up here. Right in here. And if you wanted to add a stream, a lot of streams have the foliage in the gullies to show where the streams are. Like that. And we have a backdrop. Is there any questions on this?
Let me just interject. I was chatting with Mike. I had him change the view. If you're in gallery view, you should be able to see both of his videos, and there's a little bit of different shine from the camera and the lights. And then if you are in speaker view, we were on one camera and then we switched to another. So just that's just information to everyone that they're depending on the view. I think it showed up differently. It was interesting.
Yeah, just different view, different type of cameras, different type of lighting.
Yeah.
And so, but you
But
can take and
here's what the problem is, Kevin. You make it look too easy.
it's actually very simple. You got to blend your own colors to get the right color you want. For example, on this other mural here, we'll get a clean brush so I can point it out. You can see the ridge line here, where this started out as one big hill. We just kept going and we just changed the colors to get the canyon that was needed, the road that we put in. And it was the same technique that I just did here, but we showed it going more further out to the distance. The bottom 6 inches of this was actually covered up because I built this to go onto a module. So you're only seeing that much when it's attached to the module.
Yeah.
So you can do the same thing when you're doing a full wall as well. But you can see how the clouds will intermix using the ridge line to cover up the bottom of the paint and it gives a nice clean rainstorm look to it. I do have another one. This I did a couple of months ago. Yeah, get a good view on it.
What paint?
Yeah.
Don't put it on that easel.
Not going on easel. This here is for another module. This is 4.5 feet in length, and it's more out towards Wendover, so is no foliage on it. It's everything out there is just plain brown dirt, so that's why there's no greens. And again, the bottom 6 inches is not visible when attached. So I keep bumping the camera.
Let's go.
There we go.
Can't tell you what it looks like.
Hey, Kevin,
Yes.
have you ever used cotton balls to make clouds, or is that kind of a
I've never used the cotton balls, no.
Okay.
Fact,
But you could use sponge brushes, right?
yeah, you could use a sponge brush. I just use regular. I'm gonna fix up this cloud just a little bit.
I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna see what mom does.
Okay.
She's crying, so.
There we go. And a little bit of highlights up on the top. But that's pretty much how I do things.
Cool.
So that's pretty much how I do it. This one was rather simple compared to some of the others. But if you have any questions, any more questions or?
Are you taking appointments?
No, I don't do that. But
How long can you keep using the brushes with that thick acrylic paint before having to put them in water and wash them?
I just put them in water now, but as you're taking, you can always wipe paint off and go or pull out more brushes. This is my whole stash right here. So I keep a lot of brushes on hand, so I can just keep changing it as I go along. But
If you work for an hour and a half, you're still able to wash all the brushes.
oh yeah, they come out. It doesn't set up as fast on the brush as it does on this. And the clean brushes, just soap and water is all I use. Dish soap and water. So, any other type of technique that anybody's interested in, I can try to show. Or
Did you like read about trees and study some different techniques, or you just looked at a lot of pictures?
just when it comes to trees, it's just you know that you're doing it at a distance, so it comes out that way. If I wanted to do something up close, for example, I would just take some of the gray brown mix. I could take and start this way.
Here's another question. Did you watch a lot of Bob Ross paintings shows?
I did not. My mom did when I was a kid, but that was the last time I saw anything on it.
My youngest daughter went to a Bob Ross party, so they watched a video, I think, and 5 or 6 of them all did their own paintings while they were watching the video.
So you can do kind of a tree that's up close like that.
Yeah.
So kind of highlight the trunk a little bit. And just use the fan brush, give you your texture. So you can do that. That's one way of doing it. So it's just based on colors and how you get it all done.
Yeah.
And when it's dry to the touch, it'll take about within the hour. This will be completely dry. It's what's nice about acrylics is that they dry quickly and they're water-based, easy to clean up.
Cool.
So, but that's pretty much it.
Anyone else have any questions?
So if anybody is they don't like, are a little afraid of doing this, all I can say is just dive in. The first time I did it using the projector to get my ridge line, and then I just dove in, and it took me about a week to do a 10-foot by 17-foot room.
Cool. Well, it's like a lot of things in this hobby is that you think about it a lot and maybe study about it, but you actually have to just do it, and then you